All right, welcome everyone to the Chicago Football Connection podcast. We haven't been here in a while, but we're back, like we always do at the end of the off season. So we thought we'd since we missed, we haven't been doing weekly shows like we normally do, or like we want to do at least. Uh, we figured we'd do kind of like a full off season recap, talk about kind of all the changes the Bears have made and what we're most excited about. And then also, with obviously rookie minicamp this weekend, there's a lot to talk about there as well. And also the rookie numbers got released, which is the most important thing. We got to talk
I
through that as
know.
well.
You wanna
So
talk
we'll
about
get
that first? That'd be a fun one to talk about first, quick.
yeah. Let's go. Let's go through the numbers first.
You were.
I have very strong opinions about player numbers. It's
Me too.
it's just you got to. So let's just start at the top. So Colson Loveland, 84. What are your original thoughts on 84 for Loveland?
It's a fine number.
Okay,
It's not
I like
as-
84.
You pardon?
I like 84 for Loveland.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it's a good
I
number.
wouldn't know. I love that it's in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, like 88, 89, even 87, or like 81, 82, I think I like better. But 84 is a fine number.
My opinion with the tight, especially tight end numbers in the 80s. Well, first of all, you got to be in the 80s. 40 numbers are stupid. I gotta get that shit out of here. So 80s is good. And the way I look at it is even numbers, receiving numbers, odd numbers, blocking tight end numbers. With the exception of 81. 81 could be a receiving number.
And
that's the only one.
Of the two greatest tight ends in the last 20 years, Gronk and Travis Kelce.
Yeah, but that's still I don't care about that. It's just a vibe thing. It's not not based on any. It's not based on any actual evidence or factual information. It's just a vibe thing. So I think 84 is good. 84 or 81, kind of what I wanted. So they got 84. That's a solid number. That is a receiving Pro Bowl receiver tight end number for sure.
Yep. 81 would have been heat. That would have been a heat.
Yeah, that would have been nice because it would have been the reverse of 18 that he wore in college. It would have been nice. But I think Durham Smythe has 81. So what are you gonna do?
Come on, Durham. Come on.
Let's just go down the list. The next one. This is the one. Luther Burden, 87. That's a rough one.
It's an ugly number. It feels like a roster bubble receiver number.
If Luther Burden were 2 inches taller and like 10 pounds heavier, 87 would be fine. But that's not like his vibe. He needed a either a single digit or a teen number. And I like wide receivers who wear numbers in the 80s. I'm a big fan of that. But also 84 or 81 are good numbers. 87. I think of Kellen Davis when I hear 87 or Adam Shaheen. It's a tight end number.
I agree. You can't really think of I don't know, Reggie Wayne. Was Reggie Wayne 87? I think it's kind of tough to think of a stud with a lot of aura. 87.
You have to go back. Reggie Wayne would be the last one. That's as far back you got to go. And when Reggie Wayne came into the league and picked 87, he had to pick a number of the 80s. He didn't have the option to pick 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
So
and actually. I think like you, I don't really like the new number stuff. I think it's nonsense. I really hate it. But one thing I thought to myself the other day is if you wanted to go back to the old way, but you wanted to allow wide receivers and DBs to also wear single digits, I would allow that. I do think that for some reason, something about wide receivers and DBs anyway is pretty swag. So I was kind of expecting. Lost my guy. I was kind of expecting Luther Burden to come with the heat. I thought he was going to come with not one. Jalen Johnson has it, but a nice single digit, a 7 or a 2 or 3. Third. Although I think maybe we already have a 3. Or 11. Give him the sticks.
Yeah. No.
He just went with the classic.
We have so many retired numbers. It's all the good, 3 is retired, 5 retired, 7 retired. Those are top tier.
Dude,
those are top tier numbers.
Retired, wow.
What are you gonna do? Those are top tier numbers. You can't. I'm in some technical difficulties there.
We're because of that, you really get your single digits scalped. Kyler Gordon got 6. We got
Jalen Johnson has 1.
Yeah. DJ Moore has 2.
DJ Moore has 2. Yeah, 3 is retired. is four isn't retired, I don't think. No, I don't think four. Five is though. Six is Kyle Gordon, like you said. Seven's retired. Eight is available, or eight is Cairo Santos. So kicker's got that. Nine's available. So yeah, there's just not a lot of options, and like I feel like what, like once people get cut, which obviously will happen, like Burden, like 13 was like a
13
solid number because he worth 3 in college, so 13. But that some bum has 13 right now. So like once he's cut, you can take 13.
Yeah.
You can do like, Case Keenan's wearing 11. That would have been a decent number.
Awesome number, man. The sticks.
Yeah, but yeah. So we'll see.
What else?
Who else we had? Next was Trapillo, 75. Great offensive tackle number. Reminds me of Kyle Long. That's just like 75 is a great offensive lineman number. You still there?
Yep. Yeah, I'm trying to bring up the picture. We got Ozzie Trapillo and Shamar Turner. Definitely we need to see. Trapillo 75, awesome.
Yeah, great number. That reminds me of Kyle Long. It's just a perfect offensive tackle number. No notes, just perfect. He's going to be a Hall of Famer just based on that. Am I freezing up or are you? Am I freezing or are you?
I don't even know at this point.
I think it's probably me because my computer's fucking up.
Turner 95.
Also a great number.
Great number. Completely agree. That's a lock.
Perfect number. Like no notes. Perfect. And then the rest of them, Luke Newman was like 65. Fine, whatever. That's fine. Hippolyte was like 47.
That's all right.
It's fine for him because he's like a special teamer. He's like backup linebacker, speedy linebacker. No problem with that.
Not a whole lot of.
Frazier at 20.
Chicago Bears either. I remember that. I think we got 3 retired.
Yeah, 50, 51. Well, 50. Grady Jarrett took 50. 51's retired. 50. They don't have anyone at 54 right now, even though it's not technically retired.
I don't think they've given anyone to 54 since Urlacher. I don't think they have.
I can't remember. I feel like they did give it away, kind of like I can't remember. Maybe they didn't, but yeah. Either way, that wouldn't be a good number for him. So 47's fine for him.
Did you say that Grady Jarrett's 50?
Yeah.
Dang.
Which I don't really love that, to be honest, either, but
I don't know if it's kind of a sick number, but I don't know what I think about that for Grady Jarrett. It is kind of sick. 50.
50 is good for a linebacker. It's a great linebacker number.
I know. D tackle's crazy.
Even an offensive lineman, I think, could look good in 50, but a defensive lineman, I don't know about that.
And then Kyle Monungai, 25.
I didn't like that one.
It's all right.
Every running back for the Bears who wears 25 sucks.
It's a backup running back number for us.
It's a backup running back number, yes. And maybe that's what he is, but Maui's destined for that.
I know, if he was 24 or 22,
yeah,
had a better chance a little bit.
Yeah. 28 is retired, but that would have been a good number for him. Yeah.
Who's wearing 26 right now?
26. I don't know. That might be available. I don't know.
It's Tim Jennings for a long time, but that's a
no. Sean Wade, a backup corner, has got 26, but that would have been a good number. Yeah, that would have been a good one.
Imagine you're Kyle Monungai and you're like, who's got 26? And they're like Kyle or Sean
Wade. Yeah,
really?
Just wait a couple months and you can get 26.
Does he really have 26?
That's why, they signed him this offseason. They really shouldn't give out the scrub free agent numbers until after the draft. Let the high draft pick take it.
We'll see what's left.
Yeah, you get what's left.
You get it, right, Sean Wade?
Yeah, don't worry, it's not going to matter for you.
Yeah, we'll see at camp. All right, I like that. I think a couple home runs. Only one that's really not great is Burden. I can get used, but it's
yeah. And like I said, he's going to change it. He's not going to be wearing 87.
I think that one was me.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, he's not going to be wearing 87. I'm not too worried about it. And even if he does, whatever. The thing with that is it's a high-risk, high-reward number. Because either he's going to be a bust because that's a bad number, or he's going to be so good that all the other wide receivers that come into the league start wearing 87. He just kind of makes his own. So that's the way I look at that. I should have.
I think it's me. I'm gonna try something. I'm just gonna get my
All right.
laptop picked up here so then I can jump over to that one. But
All right.
I know what you mean.
All right. So yeah,
It's kind of like the Devin Hester effect. It's really weird until it's like,
yeah,
you know what, that's just who he is.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. We'll see. I mean, it'd be really, like I said, it'd be really cool if he kind of just like does so good that 87 then suddenly goes from a tight end number to suddenly being a wide receiver number because
Cool
of
one.
him.
I know, it makes it cool.
All right. Do you want to get into some off-season additions? Kind of review?
Yeah, 100%. So, do you want to start with? We can start with, like free agency.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about that.
We did do a pod after the Ben Johnson hire, so we kind of talked through that already. But that is
Yeah,
like,
talk
I
about
think we
that.
got to mention here. That's the biggest, to me, the biggest off-season addition. is Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen, two proven coaches or at least proven coordinators. Kind of, I think everything I've seen from Ben Johnson has been great as a head coach, but we won't really see that until we see it. But there's no denying the guy can call offensive plays and design an offense, so that's just perfect. And Dennis Allen too, experienced coordinator, a lot of success in the NFL, experience as a head coach, kind of help out Ben Johnson with that. Like that's just perfect. So coaching staff in place, that's great. And then I got the list of kind of who they had in front of me. So in free agency trade, they had Joe Tooney, left guard, trade with the Chiefs, Drew Dahlman at center, Jonah Jackson at right guard for the trade, Olamide Zacchaeus, who I thought was going to actually play like a decent role for them, but now we got Luther Burden, Colson Loveland. I don't know anymore, but that's good depth. And Devin Duvernay is kind of the same situation, good depth. Both those guys can play special teams as well. And then in the draft, this is just the offense. In the draft, obviously, you went Colson Loveland, Luther Burden, Ozzie Trapillo, Luke Newman, and Kyle Monangai. And then defensively, not as many additions. You got Dio Adeyingbo from the Colts, defensive lineman, Grady Jarrett, who we've already discussed. Bit of a surprise one there. And then in the draft, Shamar Turner, Ruben Hippolyte, and Zoff Frazier.
Yep.
So pretty big overhaul in one offseason.
Yeah, I think the biggest moves. I don't think you, without a doubt, agree with you. The biggest move was the Ben Johnson hire, and probably honestly, the second biggest move to me feels like Dennis Allen as well.
Yeah.
It kind of.
I mean, Joe Cooney, I would say, is also a pretty big one, but
yeah, yep, agreed. But it kind of felt like when Nagy got
Vic Fangio.
Yeah, I felt like when he got Vic Fangio, like one of the most well-respected defensive coordinators in the league, and has coordinated some defenses that have been like top 5 in the league.
Yeah, and that worked out really well when Vic Fangio was there, and then Fangio obviously left, and we didn't really recover from that. But that first year with them was great, and obviously Vic Fangio got hired by the Broncos right away, but and deservedly so. It didn't work out there for him, but that was his first time as a head coach. His first opportunity with Dennis Allen. I don't know. I mean, he's already had 2 head coaching opportunities, and it hasn't gone well. I don't know if he gets a third, like maybe. So even if the Bears defense, if he kind of gets the Bears defense rolling, I don't know if he's going to be getting head coaching looks this offseason, which would be, sorry for him, but that's great for us that we get to kind of keep him around a little bit.
That would be awesome.
So fast, what is Ben Johnson's floor as a head coach, like a comp? Thought on that?
Oh,
I was just thinking, I don't know, comp. Go ahead, sorry.
I actually did think it's funny that he asked this. I did think about this today. Like I thought, I was almost trying to talk myself off of being like really, really, like optimistic because I was like, man, like okay, like what's like kind of like the downside, worst case scenario that you get out of Ben Johnson? And I don't think it's having a terrible offense. Like I think he's that level of a candidate that he's gonna give you a pretty good floor as a head coach. Like maybe something like a Mike McDaniels, where
Sure.
you can have some bad games when the offense doesn't look good and the team doesn't look good, but there's going to be some games when you put 30 to 40 points on the board and there's not really many teams in the league that will beat you that week. That may be his floor, and that's me like really trying to pick the bottom of the barrel because like there's a chance that maybe he's not as good of a leader as men as we think, and maybe he loses the locker room. It kind of feels like that's maybe what's happening in Miami, and if and if there are organizational issues around him, like that would be roughly what I think his floor is, and I think that that's a pretty good
Yeah.
floor to have.
Yeah, I like that. I was actually struggling to come up with one, but I think that's a really good one. Mike McDaniel's like obviously a good offensive mind it seems like he maybe isn't the best locker room, like, head coach material. He's kind of, it just seems like maybe he's like an offensive coordinator masquerading as a head coach. And that would be the floor for Ben Johnson. Because, your offense is, the design of the offense is not going to be the issue. If the offense isn't going well, it's going to be something else. Probably Caleb Williams, but I don't think that's going to be the case. But so I think the offense has a pretty good floor in general, and that's going to be because of Ben Johnson. And then the team, and then like you said, yeah, maybe Ben Johnson isn't a great locker room, coach. Maybe he, spends too much time focusing on the offense and not enough time with, the defense and the special teams and everything. Like that would be like the downfall for Ben Johnson. But he gives your offense such a high floor that it might not matter too much. And that's kind of what the Dolphins have been, sort of.
Yeah, and I also think to that conversation, when you're talking about the other coaching hires as well, like getting Dennis Allen in there, like you said, previous head coaching experience. Also going and getting Antoine Randall L as his offensive assistant, or his second in command, because he did kind of take an unknown hire at offensive coordinator with Declan Doyle, who's my age.
Yeah.
Like legit very young. And if your issue right now is with controlling the locker room, you can't really rely on a Declan Doyle to help you with that. Having an Antoine Randall L, like an NFL veteran and a coaching veteran at this point, really helps. And I think that, from what you hear about him talking and how people talk about him, he does command that respect. You get a lot of similar comments made about Al Harris too, who's he's our secondaries coach now, our passing game coordinator.
Passing game coordinator, and I believe also secondaries coach, yeah.
And you hear a lot of the same things about him as well. So I think that, the floor that you're expecting it to be is based on what we think he can scheme up on offense. And that's also assuming that maybe some of the locker room stuff doesn't go good. I think he's done a really good job of surrounding himself with people that when he's not in the room can make sure that some of that, behind the scenes locker room stuff he can rely on, like some guys that have done it before and have proven to maybe I don't want to say more of that archetype of leader men, because I actually do feel like Ben Johnson is going to be good at this, man. Everything I've seen feels really authentic. Even when they were doing the draft calls, he was the only person that felt like he was just trying to talk to the guy on the phone. And he seems like I don't think there should be an issue, but if there is, it feels like a good fail-safe system around him. And that's why I think we said it first, but the coaching staff and Ben Johnson specifically is the biggest move of the offseason by far.
Yeah, I agree. And what we were talking about earlier was, worst case scenario. I don't want people to think I think Ben Johnson is going to be that good head coach who can kind of do it all. That was just like a worst case scenario. So I agree. I like that you mentioned Randall L and Al, especially Antoine Randall L. I think Antoine Randall L might be the most important coach outside of Ben Johnson, because he's got a lot of work on his hands. I mean, he's got, I love DJ Moore. I think he got treated a little bit unfairly by fans last year, but there were some times where you could definitely question his effort a little bit. And Antoine Randall L, I think, is going to be a big reason why DJ Moore gets back to kind of his former self, because he's going to, get some accountability in there. And then also with Luther Burden too. Oh, we lost. We're having so many technical difficulties now. We're out of practice. We don't do this every week like we should. But also with Luther Burden too, another guy who, in college there were, effort questions. Is he putting all in the effort in? So I think Antoine Randall is really going to be important to get him going, get him blocking, because based on what I saw as a blocker in college, he does not subscribe to the no block, no rock rule. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, good.
Welcome back.
Good. Yeah, good to be
here. I filled the air best I could. We're good.
Yeah, but we're talking about DJ Moore. I agree. I think some of it was people started to pile on, but some of the stuff at the beginning of the season, man, was really it was probably a lot of stuff, and we don't really know what happens behind the scenes with those teams. And he was probably frustrated, and maybe he's not even happy with how he handles some of it. But it does seem that this coaching staff and Ben Johnson has made I've taken like a couple of opportunities to make like pointed comments specifically to like DJ Moore or like other
Yeah.
people in the team about how you need to operate within the offense if you want to be a piece of the offense that contributes.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I think that Antoine Randall in that room is going to be really good. There's like good
Yep.
clip ups of him like dealing with the boys on the sideline too in Detroit. And you can tell like
Yeah.
he's the man in the room, and I think it's
I
nice
mean,
to have him in the coaching staff.
he did it with Jameson Williams, and Jameson Williams kind of had some, effort, questions, coming out of college and everything, and he kind of got him set straight. I was talking about Luther Burden too when you were kind of out there. I was mentioning how Luther Burden is another guy kind of like that who has had some effort concerns. Like I was mentioning that, on the tape, he is not putting the effort in when they're running the ball. He was a terrible blocker. He was a terrible blocker because he just didn't try. And like when he wasn't the first read on a route, he wasn't running his route hard. Like that was definitely happened in college. And DJ Moore kind of did the same thing, especially with the route situation last year. So I think Antoine Randall all coming in, but I also think Ben Johnson coming in too. I think DJ Moore last year knew that Shane Waldron sucked at his job, so it's hard to put up a great effort when your coaches aren't putting you in a good position. And he was also, not only was Shane Waldron like the offense in general not good, but he was just using DJ Moore as basically like a decoy on like clear outs and deep routes just to stretch the field a little bit and like basically and then screen passes, and that was it. It's like he was not the role that DJ Moore was put in was kind of bullshit, and I think it showed, his frustration kind of showed through. So hopefully with these new hires that kind of gets fixed.
Yeah, it was. By the end of the season, he turned in basically like a screen merchant. Like they had just
Yeah.
kind of abandoned like trying to find specific, like interesting ways to use him.
Yeah.
Like I remember that last game of the season against Green Bay, he had like 130 yards and like a touchdown, and like I don't know if he caught one ball like 1 or 2 yards past the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. So hopefully that gets fixed. Let's get into some of like the players though. Who you most all the players that we signed, traded for, drafted, who are you most excited to see? Or who do you think makes the biggest impact? Whichever way you want to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest impacts are the trades. I think getting guards that Joe Thuney is, you can make an argument that he's the best guard in football, and if he isn't the best guard in football, he might be, the best offensive lineman in all of football, because he does even give you some tackle like versatility if you need it, which is crazy. But like he's going to come in as one of the better players at his position in football, and specifically at pass blocking, which is like he's probably been the best pass blocking guard in football for the last 5 years. But also coming from a winning culture, like a couple of Super Bowls with Tom Brady, and then did the same thing with the Chiefs. I don't know if you could have added a better veteran in the NFL for the Bears. It was at probably one of the biggest positions of need that we had, and we got a legitimate blue chip talent, like right in that like sweet spot of becoming like one of the true veterans of the league. He was voted as the most important player on the Chiefs roster last year by the Chiefs players.
Yeah.
And that's an offense that has Travis Kelce and has Patrick Mahomes, and it just shows you the respect that he gets from the people he plays around. So I think the Bears getting him, like that quality of player, and then getting Jonah Jackson, who was a Pro Bowl player in this Ben Johnson offense the last time we saw him. I don't know if he's the level of player that Thuney is, but he's a clear upgrade over what we had. And I think that the fact that he's going to have familiarity with this offense and also have that like confidence that my best days were in this offense. It took what was probably the biggest weakness on the Bears offensive line, the guards, and turned it into, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty bullish on our tackles, but it's probably the strength of our line now.
Yeah, I mean, Thuney is the obvious choice, I think, from a player standpoint. Just like you said, everything you said was spot on. And he's a little bit older, so we have to start thinking about regressing. Like maybe he isn't going to be the top offensive lineman or top guard in football this next year or the next 2 years, 3 years, however long we have him. That's okay, because he's still going to be a top guard, top 3 guard, top 5 guard, even top 10 guard. That's fine. Like that's all we need. But I think the intangibles that you mentioned that he brings to it just upgrades that entire offensive line group, and the room that he's in, and just the intangibles and the leadership that he brings, the winning attitude that he brings. It's just a perfect fit. and you gave up a future 4th-round pick to get him. So you really didn't give up too much. Hopefully, I'm guessing we're going to see a contract extension here soon. He's only signed through this year. There were some talks, reports of potentially a contract extension, but I also think they need to do it just from a cap standpoint, just to free up some cap space. So just whatever they do, whatever he brings on the field is great, but it's really just the locker room stuff that helps too. And then, like you said, with Jonah Jackson, I think he just he brings a reliability, and you kind of know what you're going to get with him. He's not as good as Tooney. He's not a top guard, but he at least gives you a baseline there. And then Drew Dahlman as well. I mean, a top tier center in a league that is lacking top tier center talent. Like, there are not very many good centers in this league right now, it seems like. So Drew Dahlman gives you a level of reliability there as well. It's a little bit scheme dependent, but I think he does what he does really well. And as long as you just play to his strengths and put him in a good position, he's going to be good for you. So yeah, just the way they upgraded the interior, it's going to help.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the tackles. Having Joe Tooney is going to help. Whether it's Braxton Jones, I think it's going to be Braxton Jones. But whether it's Braxton Jones, Ozzie Trapillo, Karan Amageji, it doesn't matter who's at left tackle, his presence is going to help that player. And that's huge.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to look at it, is to say that if you have to look at like what the best move of the offseason is, it's what the Bears did to the interior of their offensive line. Like our center was a bit of a running joke last year. Like, we just had a rotating door there, and no one could
for
find
multiple years.
Yeah, for sure. It's been bad for a little bit ever since we lost Cody Whitehair.
Yeah.
But the Bears, like, I think if you had to pick someone from the free agent class that would have been like a great choice for what the Bears needed, you could have looked at what was going on at D tackle. But other than that, I think, a lot of people would have said that Drew Dahlman would have been the perfect person to add to the team from free agency. And you never really make your team great by winning in free agency. But the Falcons, because of the contract that they gave Kirk Cousins, had to make some really tough decisions. And it's rare that a center like Drew Dahlman, only 26 years old, has been one of the best run blocking centers in all of football the last 3 years, specifically in this Ben Johnson system. I mean, Ben Johnson will run a lot of different types of blocking schemes, but they do love that outside zone. And that has been what Drew Dahlman has been making his money on in the NFL. Some team was going to get lucky with Drew Dahlman hitting free agency this year, and we're lucky that it was the Bears.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they put them. They did what they needed to do on the offensive line, because obviously what we've had last year and the last couple of years just hasn't been up to par. This is a topic for a different day. We could talk a little bit about why it took our GM 3 years to invest in the offensive line, but that's not for today's podcast. And then for me, I mean, in addition to Tooney and the offensive line, if we're talking just draft guys that we brought in, I'm going to just say it's obviously our first round pick. I mean, I think Colson Loveland does so much for what Ben Johnson wants to do. Like, he said the same thing over and over again. He wants to. I have it up here. He wants the same things to look different and different things to look the same. And I think Loveland just allows you to do that so much more than anyone else you could have gotten in that pick, because he is a really athletic, mismatched tight end in the pass game, but also is a much, much better blocker than he's given credit for. So it allows you to do so many different things around that, and he doesn't have to come off the field on early down, so you can run the ball. He can be on there, and you can split him out wide. You can put him in the slot. I think he's going to be used a lot like how Amon-Ra St. Brown was used in Detroit. I've been talking to our guy Tommy about that a little bit. I know people kind of project like Luther Burden to that role because slot receiver, it makes sense. But I think DJ Moore and Colson Loveland are kind of going to be, or maybe even Robo Dunze as well, kind of those guys who that the ball kind of runs through a little bit. So I think that was just a perfect fit. I mean, I overall I liked all their draft picks, but I think that was just so perfect for what Ben Johnson needs. And he gets the Sam Laporta comparisons a lot. I watched a lot of Lions games, this last couple of weeks, and obviously I watched a ton of Colson Loveland for the draft. And I can tell you right now, Colson Loveland moves much smoother than Sam Laporta, who's one of the top tight ends in the NFL. It's clear as day that he just moves a little bit different. I mean, Davenport is a pretty good mover too, but he just moves a little bit different. So I'm really excited about what Loveland can do even in year one.
Yep, I agree. I think. Well, here's a good stat for you. PFF grade, take it, grain of salt, what you will. It's just people sitting in the room grading plays. But they had him as the second highest graded tight end in the country the last 2 years. As far as receiving grade out of the slot, he was the third highest rated tight end as far as receiving grade in line. So anywhere you want to put him, he has seen success. And I think Ben Johnson also calls it multiplicity. I think doing that multiplicity type stuff is going to be extremely easy, or a lot easier with a Colson Loveland, because you're right. He's a good blocker that's getting better. He could probably add about 5 pounds to his frame. And not only that, but he's the type of blocker that really wants to and really gets it. Like, he's always doing a good job of putting himself in between where the play is going to be and his blocker. Even though he's not as big as some of the other blockers in the class, because of that ability, I think he's just as good of a blocker as some of the other guys like Tyler Warren, and he is by far the best receiver in the class. He really does unlock a lot of stuff that I think Ben Johnson likes to do. And we were saying in our last podcast that Ben Johnson was the tight end coach of every stop that he came before he got to the Bears. He was the tight end coach in Miami and in Detroit and in Boston College when he was there. So he understands that position. And if he went, with a top 10 pick, I'm willing to take this guy. You have to think he sees big things in him.
Yeah.
And I love that idea about him kind of playing the Amon-Ra Brown role. It might sound strange for fans to hear that because they think about him as a slot receiver, and he is. But they did a bunch of stuff with him coming out of the backfield and being in line and doing blocking stuff that you could completely do with Loveland as well.
Yeah, I agree. I like what you said about the blocking.
Was there any? No, actually, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I wasn't
okay.
Gonna say
Well, those are the moves that we loved. We loved we loved what we did with the offensive line. I think that also extends to Ozzie Trapillo. I think even pick your poison as far as what position. The Bears have 5 starters, so it just you were getting depth when you got Trapillo anyway. But that's just a commitment to the game. Second round pick on an offensive lineman, even though we have our starters, is just understanding that you need to have offensive linemen. I love that. So I love what the Bears did on offensive line. I think Grady Jarrett is a really underrated move on the defense. I think the moves to defensive line, I would have gone somewhere differently than Deo. But I love Grady Jarrett as a leader in that room. I think coming off an injury last year, we probably saw that probably is going to be his worst starting year in the NFL. Although age could get up to him, and who knows? But he should be healthier this year than he was last year. And I think he's still got some juice as a rotational pass rusher. But Ryan Poles talked about, he called Matt Ryan, who was a longtime teammate of Grady Jarrett, and said, this guy just got cut. What do we do here? And Matt Ryan said, pick up the phone and call him and hire him immediately. And the Bears did. So I would imagine that with that kind of endorsement from a guy, an MVP type player like Matt Ryan, I think the Bears got a similar type presence on the defensive line in the defensive room that they got with Tooney, that they got in Grady Jarrett, even though Tooney is still probably, a top 10 player at his position. Jarrett's probably not there specifically, but I think as a leader, he's great for that team.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree with everything you said. I would have, like you said, I would have probably gone a different route on the defensive line, both in free agency and the draft. I mean, I like Shamar Turner, but there are other guys I just like better. But yeah, I think Grady Jarrett as a situational pass rusher still has a little bit of juice left in the tank. He's getting older. He's had some injuries recently, but I think there is still something there, where you're at least going to get some quality snaps out of him this year, and then hopefully next year and the year after that too. But at the very least, you're getting 1.5 good years out of him still. Because there was, when I went back and watched him, there was some. He was still moving pretty well, even if the stats weren't there. But he's your defensive Joe Tooney. From the intangible standpoint, he's going to raise the floor of that defensive line room. He's going to help Shamar Turner a ton. He's going to help Javon Dexter, maybe even Zach Pickens if he's still on the team. He's going to help that entire room. So just getting that leadership and getting those guys who've won before in there is good too. I mean, Grady Jarrett went to a Super Bowl, with the Falcons. So getting that in there, And then, yeah, Dio, I don't know. We'll see about him. You're kind of really banking on the upside there, which usually doesn't, work out. But they gave him a pretty big contract, but not a gigantic contract. Not a earth-shattering contract where if he doesn't hit, you're screwed. So it's not the end of the world. Like I said, I would have gone a different direction, but I'm willing to give him a chance, and I think he does fit what Dennis Allen wants. He wants those bigger DNs who can play, a 4-eye technique or 5 technique, and they're not going to be 3 feet past the tight end, running a straight line to the quarterback. That's not what their DNs do. They're usually head up over the tackles, and you need a guy who's 275, to do that. So he fits what they do. So I'm okay with that overall. So yeah, I think that they address the trenches, which is what in all the podcasts we said leading up to this offseason, we said that that's what they needed to do. And on Twitter, whenever we're talking about they need to build the trenches, and they did that. They might not have done it exactly how we envisioned, but they did it. So can't complain too much.
I think Deo is a good transition to, we listed off the moves that we liked and where we think we won. Is there anything that you kind of you're scratching your head about, or some stuff that if you could roll back the clock, you wouldn't make the move?
I mean, I probably would make the Deo move. I just don't. I went back and watched him after we signed him. I didn't really see a whole lot there. But then again, he did look better 2 years ago than he did last year. So I just probably would have used that money another way. But that's nitpicking, I feel like. And then with Shamar Turner, I like Shamar Turner. I liked him better in 2023 when he played on the edge. I hope he gets to play off the edge a little bit for Dennis Allen. But there were, in my opinion, better defensive tackles on the board when we picked him. So those would be like the two things that I would say I would have done that differently. But what the hell do I know?
I know. I believe. Yeah, it's funny you say that, dude. I completely agree. Those are the two moves I would say. Well, actually, I would say the move.
And Ruben Hepplewhite, that was a waste of a draft pick, but anyway.
Yeah.
That's a
fully. I know, and the Bears like to do this, man. The last couple of years they have just been drafting linebackers in the 4th and 5th round to be basically just special teams players for us and roster fillers, which is maybe fine business. It doesn't feel like it's good business to me.
No, it doesn't feel like good. They definitely, like, we have enough data points now. They use the 4th and 5th round exclusively for special teams.
And it's so
they don't try to take a chance on a guy with upside or anything like that. It's just like, no, we want to get a guy who's going to play special teams for us.
So
it's kind of like, I feel like you should shoot for the upside, and then if you don't reach the upside, you have a special team
talk
player.
About how he's like, no, our approach is to always be looking for starters, and then in the first rounds, that's about looking at the quality of player, and then as you get into later rounds, it's like projections, athletic ability, like drafting young, good athletes, people that meet like thresholds, stuff like that. And the Bears are drafting, special teams linebackers in the 4th and 5th round all the time. That's annoying. Yeah. The one that really had me puzzled was the Jonah Jackson contract.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, I agree.
Dude. So the Bears traded for Jonah Jackson, who it kind of felt like a bit of a prove-it trade, and I think the draft capital that we traded kind of reflected that. It was like a 6 or something.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
And he was just signed to this big contract. So it was kind of like, okay, we're taking on this big contract. We're taking a risk on him on a guy that had some experience with Ben Johnson in the past. So, you're kind of getting this discount because the contract's not great anyway. And he comes to Chicago, and the Bears sign him. Like, first of all, they situate the trade in a way that has us eating like basically all the dead money, like not a good look. And then they sign him to an extension that's paying him is like one of the highest paid guards in football.
Yeah, no, that made no sense.
It was
absolutely no sense.
Unnecessary.
Right, that's what it is. Like, let him play out this year and then give him that same contract if he earns it. Like, if he plays to an Pro Bowl level, like he did in the past, technically, if he gets to a Pro Bowl, if you didn't sign him to this extension and he played to a Pro Bowl contract this year, then you would sign him to the same extension you gave him now. So there's like no incentive of doing it early. Just let him play, and if he plays really well, do you think he's going to go to another team? No, he's going to be like, fuck, I'm sticking with. He's like, I'm sick. He's going to say, I'm sticking with Ben Johnson, and I'm going to
Yes.
sign with you. So there was no incentive to give him that money early.
No.
Like it made absolutely no sense.
And you had 2 seasons. They gave him an extension on for 2027.
Yeah.
For like $20 million. And it's like, yeah. If the move works out as good as it can work out, you'll get yourself a steal. It'll probably be maybe by 3 or 4 million by that time. But like, you literally could have waited 2 years to make that deal, and maybe you would have cost yourself $2 million with the inflation of the cap on the whole. You might have come out like in the green. Like,
right. That's
there was a puzzling move.
There was just no upside to do it. The only like rationale would be like, oh, we want to send a message that we support him. But I don't think
that's what it felt
like. I think trading for him was already that message. Like,
you can send a message without sending $20 million.
Yeah. So that I completely forgot about that. But that was definitely a head scratcher.
So that one was a big head scratcher for me. And then, like you said, I think the entire way that they went about addressing the defensive line this offseason was unfortunate. I mean, you only get so many swings at the bat, and the defensive line and the offensive line needed a lot of work, and they really, really nailed the offensive line. So, something kind of had to take a backseat for sure. I think we would both agree that they took 2 big swings, it really feels like, with Deo and with Shamar Turner, and it just feels like, me and you would agree that those weren't moves that we loved.
I think with the defensive moves, kind of all the defensive moves they made this offseason, it's boom or bust.
Yeah.
Like there's a world where Grady Jarrett is older and he does nothing left in the tank. That was bad signing. Deo doesn't take that next step and is just kind of a guy. That's a bad signing. Shamar Turner's had injury concerns. He also had some pretty rough tape on the inside in college. He doesn't work out. That's a bad draft pick. And then you basically spent a lot of money and a draft pick on the defensive line, and nothing changed.
Yeah,
there's a world where that happens. I'm not saying that's going to happen for all of them, but that's in the realm of possibility. With the offensive line, I feel like it was the exact opposite, where you really went with like the floor. Like Joe Thuney's going to be solid at least. Drew Dahlman's going to be solid at least. Jonah Jackson, unless he's injured, which is possibility, most likely he's going to be pretty solid. Like there's a floor there. You've raised the floor on your offensive line. I don't know if you 100% did that on the defensive line, because I think the floor on the defensive line is very low. And
it feels like as good as the floor of the offensive line is as bad as the floor of the defensive line is.
Right.
Because like all those things you said, it's like, all those things could happen. And it's like, all those things might happen.
But like
it's not a crazy, like I would say it's like running like a 25 to 30% chance that all the things you said for sure happen.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree. Like it could go south very, very quickly for the defense, and the defense was bad last year. And and say what you want about Matt Eberflus, he was a decent defensive coordinator. Yes. At least he got a defensive coordinator job right away. Like I think maybe even if you think Dennis Allen is a better defensive coordinator, which I do think that, by the way, I don't like if all those things that we just mentioned happen. Like it's gonna be Dennis Allen's gonna struggle to field a good defense, because you got to have players on. Maybe Jaquan Brisker gets another concussion and he's out forever.
I know.
Maybe Tyreek Stevenson has the same year he had last year. It was bad. Like there's a lot of question marks on the defense. A lot.
Yeah. I think 100%. I think that we still probably have yet to see one move be made at the safety position. I think a move that has to kind of be made there still. No, I think the reason they kept Eberflus the year before is because his defense was great. And like you kind of said to yourself, you know what, when the defense was bad, it's like, okay, now there's no reason to keep you. And that's how he gets fired for the first time in Bears history in the middle of the season. So I think you kind of, when you made the Ben Johnson move, you were kind of accepting that maybe the defense might not be your strongest unit this year. But it's like, okay, well, one, the offense better be good then.
Yeah.
And two, I think, it wouldn't blow my mind if the defense wasn't great this year, If, like, for example, with Deo, if Deo's not great and he doesn't really take that step forward, he's still kind of a guy trying to put it all together. You have Montez Sweat, who's good. Montez Sweat is good. But you have Montez Sweat, and then you actually have a whole lot of nothing at defensive end. A whole lot of nothing.
Yeah.
You have Austin Booker, maybe. Maybe you'll be something, brother. Probably not. Yeah. You got drafted in the 4th round. That's how things work.
Right.
have Deo, who in this situation we're assuming maybe doesn't take that step, and then like you're getting maybe some quality edge reps from Shamar Turner. It's kind of where I thought his best ball was played. Maybe you see that there, but like Dom Robinson, like who else do we have at defensive end?
Yeah, I agree. The defensive end could get rough, but the only saving grace there is Dennis Allen has made bad DNs work. I mean, obviously you had Cam Jordan, who was great, but you also had Carl Granderson, not Curtis Granderson, Carl Granderson, who is just a guy who's been kind of their starter for like 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, 100%.
So he's been able to make, and there's been other ones too. So he's been able to get the most out of DNs. That's might be the only saving grace there. But I agree with what you said. Like, there's not a lot of talent there outside Montez Sweat.
No,
and,
but it is nice to. I guess the saving grace is there are some teams around the league saying we don't have anything. At least we get to say we don't have anything except Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat's a $20 million a year pass rusher. When he's playing good, he actually plays like that. You know, he stops the run well. He's a freak athlete. He can really rush the passer and turn it on. I felt like last year, I don't know if he was battling through injury, but it wasn't the best of him. But like, if you get like the guy that we got for those 8 games, the first season we traded with him, then the outlook of that position group gets a little bit better.
For sure.
So those are the I think the areas we would say that as far as the moves we made this offseason, we probably left something that we desired. I think everything you loved that the Bears did about the offensive line, I think you probably rightfully have reason to be concerned about the defensive line. The way that the Bears approached the middle of the draft could use some work for sure. And what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, and the Jonah Jackson contract. What the hell? I mean, if that was just a strict confidence boost move, it's kind of crazy to think about.
Crazy. Yeah, I think we're all we're kind of on the same page there. I think it makes a lot of sense. Let's get into the rookie minicamp because I want to talk about that to kind of finish up with that. We don't have to spend a whole lot of time on that because we already talked about it, kind of Colson level a little bit, but it is happening this weekend. We got to talk about it. The thing about rookie minicamps are there's never bad news that comes out of rookie minicamp, right? Like, unless there's like an injury or something, you're never this first view that the beat writers are getting. They're not going to say, "Oh man, this guy looked really bad." Like usually it's all positive. So I don't know if there's a whole lot we can get out of it, but is there a particular thing that you want to see or hear about during this weekend?
I'm
struggling to think of one, to be honest.
Well, it's going to be nice to see. I want them to say that Luther Burden and Colson Loveland, anytime the ball came near them, they couldn't hear it, and it was beautiful, and they moved beautiful,
right.
and it would be slightly nice to hear good things about Kyle Manunga as well, just because as it's going to turn out, him being like at least serviceable in some capacity versus him being a true 7th round, like kind of throwaway pick, could really tip the scales on whether we have like an average to above average running back room or a pretty beat up running back room. So it would be nice to see some positive returns from him. Other than that, I mean, you're really just hoping to get lucky with some. It's 5 draft picks or 6 draft picks, a couple of guys from last year, and then a bunch of guys just praying to make the NFL.
Yeah, I think with Manunga, he has a real chance to be like an early down running back for the Bears. Especially this year because they don't really have many other options. Him or Roschon, essentially. I don't know if any of these undrafted free agent guys are going to do it. So it's like him or Roschon. So he has a real chance to take that role. I don't know if he's going to do it or not. I thought his tape was decent. It was pretty good. He's not very athletic, but he runs hard. My issue with him is that he's listed on here. I have their rookie minicamp roster up. He's listed at 5'8", 211 pounds.
Yep.
And I struggle to have a guy who's 5'8" be kind of your early down, like workhorse, like pick up tough yardage running back. Like how long can he do that? Can he conceivably fill that role when he's so undersized and he's not super athletic? So it's like he might be able to do it, but does he have the longevity to do it?
Yeah. Probably not. It might be one of those guys where you go, hey, we'll get 3 good years out of you.
Yeah, and that would be fine. Hey, it's a 7th-round pick. If you get 3 years on him, that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, that's kind of like where I'm at with him. And then, I do think I fully expect this weekend for all the beat writers to be saying, oh man, Luther Burden's so good, Colson Laughlin's so good, because
Yeah.
unless they're out there just straight up dropping pass after pass, which I don't think is going to happen. Like, there's not. I don't think they're going to be the guys they're going up against are mostly undrafted free agents, guys who are going to be selling insurance in a few weeks. So like they should be able to easily kind of stand out there. But yeah, should be interesting. It should be interesting.
Yeah, I think I don't mind a little running back. Actually, I feel like I like the fact that they kind of get hidden behind the line on early downs. But he is a little running back. He's honestly, I actually tweeted about this, and I think on like the way that they play, it's funny because it's so different because of the difference in their games. But there really is like some Ashton Genty to the way Kalmanungai plays. They are the exact same height and weight. What I tweeted was it's literally like if Ashton Genty wasn't fast or quick. If he just had crazy contact balance and great vision. That's what it feels like Kalmanungai is. But he has crazy contact balance and crazy vision. The guy's got like 600 carries without a fumble in college football.
Yeah, and he's a good pass blocker too.
Yeah, and he is a good pass blocker. He again 5'8", the low man wins, and he's not scared to put his nose in there. So I think we'll see some Kalmanungai snaps this year, and I think if he can play to like the highest like realm of his outcomes, I think that really helps the running back group. But I don't know. He would be the only other person there on the weekend that I think it would be nice to hear some. Actually, he was surprisingly this, or he was. One name to look was this guy. Every time anybody said something, he was great.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up. So I want to see. So Roschon Johnson only had 55 carries last year.
That's crazy.
You think? I'm going to say that Kyle Monangai will receive more than 50 carries this season. Be my guess. I would say he probably gets close to like 100 carries.
He's probably going to get some regression because literally nobody runs the ball as much as Ben Johnson does.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Kyle Monangai is going to play this year, and he's going to get 5-6 carries a game, probably something. I don't know about that, but I don't know exactly what it's going to be. But I think he's going to play this year on early downs, and he's going to.
Is he draftable in fantasy?
I'm not going to draft him in fantasy, but I think he's going to play. I don't think he'll get enough. I mean, DeAndre Swift is going to get plenty of carries. I bet Roschon Johnson might sneak in there too. I think Roschon might. I don't like Roschon. I don't think he's like I don't think he's any more than just a guy at the running back position. But I also think Jamal Williams was just a guy, and Ben Johnson got to 1,000 yards and 17 touchdowns. So, I think he could be a Jamal Williams.
Yeah, the Bears running back room is full of just guys. Like, there's definitely carries each game for Roschon Johnson.
Yeah, for sure.
The funny thing is that Roschon Johnson feels like one of those types of running backs that like would probably be better, like, you know, letting them build some momentum and giving them like 10 to 12 carries, like, you know, getting them going downhill. But it's like unfortunate that that's just the way that the modern NFL is, man. You got to have a couple.
And that's kind of how I feel about Monangai too. I feel like Monangai, when I watched him, he was at his best when he got 20 carries.
Yeah,
it was the grinding guys down and then breaking a big run because he just, you know, he got 3 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, 5 yards, and then a 25-yard run. You know, like stuff like that. So I don't think he's going to be able to get that volume enough to really kind of do that. That's the other thing kind of with him, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know if DeAndre Swift, if he's looking good, I don't know if DeAndre Swift kind of prevents you from just being like, hey, this is going to be the guy. We'll see.
What was I going to say? Yeah, I know. I think I saw the highlight clip of all of DeAndre Swift's best plays last year, and I was like, man, this guy is really good for how bad he is.
Yeah.
Like, he's actually terrible. Like, he's so hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah.
As a guy, as a Bears fan, you know, basically my whole life, we've actually had a pretty good run game and good running backs. It's pretty tough to watch a running back that just can't get it done in the slot, like going downhill, like pretty soft.
Yeah.
But man, his highlight tape looked great.
Yeah, I mean, every day on Bears Twitter, there's someone saying like, posting like one of his highlights and saying everyone's telling me this guy sucks. It's like, yeah, he does suck though. This is just one. This is just one player. There's two players. Like there's so many like advanced stats out there with like yards over yards per carry over expected or whatever it is. Like where he was last in the league. Like that's not a scheme thing. That's a can you break tackles things. Do you have
those accounts too are mind-boggling to me because it's like are you actually watching the games?
Right. I think it's just people want to be different. People want to go against the grain, and I think that's really what it comes to.
I guess.
I do that too.
My place is like, if you watch the games, you would hate him as much as me.
Right.
I promise you. The fact that you're pumping his tires makes me think that you don't get it.
Yeah. No, at the end of it, I mean, he's just a guy. He's not terrible.
No, he's not. He's not terrible. And I think we are going to see some positive regression from all the running backs, just assuming that you're going to have a more cohesive run game and a better blocked run game.
But it's not gonna change. I mean, yeah, his stats on paper are going to look better because of Ben Johnson and the run game and the offensive line. But his advanced stats were those yards after contact, yards over expected, whatever. I'm really blanking on what that is, but you know what I mean. Like your expected yards per rush versus what you actually get are still going to be bad. Yes, rushing yards over expected. Thank you. Are still going to be the same because the scheme doesn't change who you are as an athlete and as a person as a runner. So that'll all be. But I fully expect his stats on paper. His just kind of stats. More yards, probably a higher yards per carry, probably more touchdowns. All that's going to go up, but it doesn't mean he's changed or a different person.
No, he is. It's actually very funny that I watched the highlights and I literally was like, huh, those are actually good highlights, and I think I can still tell you confidently that this guy isn't as good as you guys are trying to make him out to be. And it really does. Sometimes you do need to have all of these advanced stats to try and paint the picture to say, I'm telling you, when he gets the ball, he doesn't make as much out of it as he should. Ever. And if it takes a conglomeration of all these advanced stats for me to paint that picture for you, fine. I'm telling you, watching the game, that that is what it is.
There were so many times where you run the play would start and there'd be a handoff and you'd be like, oh, this is gonna go. This is gonna be a big,
you're like, okay,
this is gonna be a good run. Maybe not a big game. Like we're gonna get 10 yards here, and he'd get 3 yards.
Yes.
And it'd be like, wow, that hole was huge, and I don't understand.
That just leans into the guy that's just grabbing at him. It's like, DeAndre. I need you to hit that hole harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
We could get into that. I think we could probably harp on DeAndre Swift for a little bit.
Yeah. So rookie minicamp.
Rookie minicamp. I think the people to watch your draft picks.
Yeah.
Kyle Monangai probably more than Luther Burden and Colson Loveland are going to be guys that are going to be playing a ton of snaps for the Bears. After that, it's a lot of guys that are going to be rotational or maybe even just strictly depth pieces. The only guy that I think is kind of worth picking out is Kyle Monangai has an opportunity to probably carve out a bigger role in this offense than maybe people are giving credit for at the moment. If he quickly usurps Roschon Johnson, that's 20 snaps a game already that he's got as a 7th round pick. So he could be a guy that it would be big for him to have a good rookie minicamp.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Also, just add Ozzie Trapillo. It's going to be probably tough for the offensive linemen and stuff because you don't get a lot of reports about that. But I think mostly just seeing how he plays left tackle because he played right tackle in college mostly. Yeah. He hasn't played left tackle in a few years. Just seeing how comfortable he looks there, I think is going to be a big storyline as well because Braxton Jones, has been up and down, but also he's just straight up injured right now. So if he doesn't recover like we thought, someone might have to step up week 1 or at least in training camp or in preseason to play left tackle. So I think just how he looks at left tackle is going to be a storyline to kind of watch.
Yeah, he probably, depending on how the health of Braxton Jones works out, he would probably be another guy that maybe you could circle as saying even early in the season he might have a start or two penciled in for him. But other than that, Theo Benedette would be there.
Yeah.
That punky cool QB from Hard Knocks will be there.
Yeah, Austin Reed. Yep.
Right. Nothing else worth mentioning. It'll be cool to see people with Bears jerseys on throwing a football at fucking Hallis Hall, though, man. Let me tell you.
That's for sure. I got a few. I got a few undrafted free agents trial guys that I think
Oh, nice,
are worth
cool.
watching. Just a few. Let me go through this. So I think one, Deion Hankins. He's a running back from. He started his career at UTEP, went to Texas State. He was really good at UTEP. I posted some of like all 22 of him like a week or two ago. He was really good at UTEP. He transferred to Texas State, and they like just didn't use him
Okay.
like at all. He had one game this year with double digit rushing attempts and had like 120 yards, and that's it. That's like the only game they used him. So I don't really know what was happening there, but I think he's kind of like he's very similar to Kyle Monangai, a little bit bigger, not super fast, not super athletic, but he runs really hard. He's trucks dude, so I think he has an outside chance to maybe make the roster, especially since the running back room is a little weak. Another guy here. So he's a actual undrafted free agent signing. Xavier Carlton, a D lineman, DN from Cal. I actually really liked him. I tweeted about him last summer, and then he didn't really have the year I thought he would have. But he's a typical Dennis Allen guy, 6'6", 275, like big defensive end. Cal used him as like a D tackle a lot, and I don't think that, and he did not look very good. He couldn't hold up against the run, but I think if you play him more on the edge, like he has a chance. And again, that's just a position that the Bears don't have a lot of depth at. So that is a position that maybe an undrafted free agent could come in and at least make the roster. I don't think any of these guys are going to be like game changers, but at least kind of make the roster. And then one other guy, I think only one other guy, Vincent Murphy, the center from Tulane. I liked him a lot in college from the last like couple of years because he's a little bit older, so I thought he was going to come out a few times. So I've watched him a couple times. He's 24 years old now. He's from Tulane. I thought he was pretty decent at center. Nothing like spectacular, but like at least there's something there. And then also the reason I bring him up is Roshar, their off the line coach, was at Tulane, so they brought him in for a reason. There's a little bit of a connection there, so I think he has a potential to be a practice squad guy. I don't think he's going to make the team, but maybe a guy to watch for the practice squad. So those three guys, I want to say have the best chance of maybe making the team.
Right. And then honestly, like, it's funny enough, like something like contributions that you wouldn't expect from rookie minicamp, like people outside of just your draft picks. And then maybe like one or two veteran moves like in July and August, like you kind of have the guys that are going to be your 2025 Chicago Bears.
Yeah. I mean, we probably don't have enough to, maybe this is a different podcast another time, but I think there will be at least one vet brought in, whether it's a running back potentially down the road, or if it's a defensive end. Jadeveon Clowney was just released. I don't know if it's going to be him, but Jadeveon Clowney, Zadarius Smith, someone who can give you maybe a little bit of juice off the edge. I think that's a possibility, but any of those guys, none of those guys are signing right now. They're going to be waiting for the best possible deal. They have no incentive to sign right now. They're going to be waiting, see if someone gets injured and the team gets desperate and bumps up their salary a little bit more. So those signings will happen, like you said, more like July into training camp even. But I think that is something that I hope they would be exploring.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap it up like this. I think this is a good way to finish it. Give me your grade for the Chicago Bears coaching changes.
A+.
I agree, man.
Yeah.
I actually don't think it's crazy to say that Ben Johnson is the hottest head coaching candidate in 25 in my time as being a sports fan.
Yeah.
I have literally never seen what happened with Ben Johnson in the last few years. Like being a hot head coaching candidate, turning down a job after having one of the best offenses in the NFL, going back and having another season of having one of the best offenses in the NFL and turning down the job again, and then having the best offense in the NFL, and then the Bears got him. Yeah. The fact that he didn't take the job twice, there was like this whole air of like, man, who is this guy? Yeah. People were talking about him like some sort of math genius, to the point where when I was hearing about this guy, I was like, this guy sounds like he's like on the spectrum. He's like so smart. And I was like, is he a football coach? Like, yeah, but either way, like he is like a next level candidate of football coach, like a Kyle Shanahan level higher. It's hard to really like not treat it like that level higher.
Yeah.
I can't. I think the only grade that you can give, especially with Dennis Allen, man, is an A+.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean it's going to be 100% going to work out. I just think with all the information we have and who was available, you couldn't have done any better.
Couldn't have done it. Nobody does it better.
Yeah.
No, that was
So,
perfect. And
yeah.
honestly, it was such a weird feeling the last few years not liking your head coach because it thought no matter what we do, I actually don't think we have the keys, and it feels different now with Ben Johnson. So A plus, totally agree. Talk to me about. I think we're going to group free agency and trades together.
Yeah. Free agency and trades. It's gonna be high. I don't know. It's not gonna be an A plus. I would say probably let's give that like an A minus.
Dang.
Because I like A minus B plus, something like that. I think they did really well. Like I'll stick with the A minus. There would have been some things that would have been done slightly different, but it's just nitpicking. And also like they're the guys like Deo. Obviously we've talked about not my favorite, but I think there is some upside there. So if he hits that upside, it's at least worth a gamble there. So and the offensive, Joe Tooney, Jude Gallman, offensive stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think A minus is a good one. I think.
Yeah,
I think.
and now I'm remembering the Jonah Jackson contract. I want to put it to a B plus.
Yeah, B plus is where I was leaning, and I always, for some reason, this offseason, I've always kind of been forgetting the Drew Dahlman move. I think on the back of Drew Dahlman and Joe Tooney, like that's an A plus and an A move for me.
Yeah,
and like at probably some of the most important positions the Bears needed this offseason. And on the backs of that alone, I loved Olamide Zaccheaus. I loved Duvernay. Jonah Jackson was good. The contract was whatever. I think B plus A minus is right in that zone.
Yeah.
Grady Jarrett, I didn't love Deo, but I think everything else kind of carried those moves.
Yeah,
then,
I think I'm going to stick with a B plus on that one.
Yeah, you want to do B plus? I did love the Case Keenum move. I think the Bears were dying to
Yeah,
get themselves
that's true.
a vet quarterback, and I think they added it in that space.
Yeah.
Also, slightly worth mentioning, I think you probably categorize the Kyler Gordon and TJ Edwards extensions in those, and I thought those were great team-friendly deals that are going to look even better in 2 years for guys that I wanted to be on that defense. I'd rather have those guys than go and look for their replacements. I think they're both great players.
Agreed.
So yeah, B plus, A minus. Really hard to knock what happened there. Give me the draft.
Draft. Let's give that. I'll just stick with B plus there too.
Dang.
Yeah, I like their draft for the most part. I mean, Colson Loveland, I loved. Luther Burden, the more I watch him, I liked him as a player. I think I'm worried about the blocking and like what he does. When he's not kind of the focal point of the offense. Right. So I'm just concerned there because when you have Loveland and DJ Moore and Romo Dunze, even Cole Kmet, and you have a running game, like is he going to get enough touches to keep himself happy? That's why I said Antoine Randall was the most important coach because I think he's going to be a big reason there. But I like the player. I like Ozzie Trapillo more than most people. I actually really like Ozzie Trapillo. Shamar Turner, I see the vision with Shamar Turner at least, even if he wasn't my favorite player.
Edge.
Trapillo had sucked. I like Zoff Frazier and Luke Newman as late picks, and I like Kyle Monangai as late round picks too. So to me, there was just one head scratcher of a pick.
Luke Newman tackle, right?
Guard. I think he's going to play center. He's a little undersized. So I think he's going to be like a center guard. He played tackle at Holy Cross.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Actually, and then transferred to Michigan State and played guard and held his own. Like, it wasn't perfect. There was there's rough around the edges. But I think going from a small school like that to a big-time Big Ten program, like, that's a tough transition. And the fact that he even, like, looked like he belonged was good. So I think he's trending in the right direction. Like,
yeah.
Like, if he would have spent 2 years at Michigan State, like if he had went back and was in college again this year, I think his tape would have been just even better. So I think he was kind of on the way up. So I like the pick, especially for a 6th round pick sixth rounder.
What was it? Yeah, 6th or 5th. Yeah, I think I said it to you guys a couple of times. Yeah. I didn't want us to take a tight end in the 1st round just because I was like, it doesn't work. I loved the Loveland tape, and I will drink the all faith in Ben Johnson Kool-Aid, but because of that, I think honestly your viewing of that move changes the perception of the draft a lot, and I think you'll probably be a little bit higher on it than me. I'll probably just give it a B, but I did, and also to be fair, I was kind of saying before the draft that, and maybe I was watching too much of the 24 tape, but I didn't love the most recent tape from Burden, but the 23 tape is awesome. And like I kind of was also looking at the Burden stuff through the lens of we don't need a receiver. Like when we have them, I really do love them. But just with those, I'm probably going to be a little bit cooler on the draft than you were, so I'll probably go B.
Yeah.
But
Burden,
I think we agreed on free agency and in trades.
yeah. I mean, that's also. I mean, we're B plus, essentially the same.
But
yeah, the Burden tape was really frustrating because there were. I was watching the games and I was like, I don't see with this guy at all. Like I'd watch like a half a game, like I don't see this at all, and then he'd make one play and I'd be like, oh okay, that was pretty good.
Or he'd have a
And
game,
and a couple plays later he'd make another one, and I'd be like, okay, that was also pretty good. So it's like you got to grade the flashes with him more so than the overall tape. So we'll see, but there's a lot of risk in that type of profile too, because the flashes are going to become few and far between when you go up a level.
I know.
So,
I know. Anyway, overall grade, off-season grade so far. I think basically you're just getting some. You might find yourself a difference maker with a vet cut or something like that. For the most part, anything else we're adding is just like rounding out a nice roster. What would you say is your overall grade for how the Bears have turned their roster so far?
Coaches A plus, free agency B plus, draft B plus. We'll call it an A minus.
A minus, man.
Not bad.
It's almost hard. It's almost hard to not like. To like, it's like A minus feels like, oh yeah, A minus, everybody gets an A minus when like all of the other options are available. Like people out there had themselves a C plus off season, but man, it really was like it was an A grade off season.
For sure.
It was an A grade off season. You added some unbelievably good talent at positions that are important to the team, and you've added some players that are extremely talented playmakers at like luxury positions that we know that Ben Johnson was looking to add.
Yeah.
We got to do we got Ben Johnson. We're doing the Ben Johnson thing, man. Like there might not be a team in the NFL having more fun than us right now. Like we're really getting to do it. We got the Heisman winning quarterback, first overall pick from a year ago. And we had the A minus off season. Like,
dude,
are we allowed to be like optimistic again?
I think so. I was just thinking about this the other day. How crazy it is how little we've talked about Caleb Williams this offseason. Not just us, like everyone. Bears Twitter in general, like Caleb Williams has barely been mentioned. Remember the last time the Bears had an offseason where we didn't obsess about the quarterback position as much? Like there haven't been a million threads about Caleb Williams to be like, yeah, like saying like he was much better than you thought he was. Here's why. Here's all the different reasons. Like I'm breaking down the tape. You guys were all wrong. Caleb Williams is the GOAT. We don't have to do that because everyone kind of recognizes that Caleb Williams is good. Like so, we don't have to put together those threads to do that.
I was just doing some Caleb Williams deep diving, and like he was like actually so good. There were some moments when like it was like his calm amongst the storm was like it was like seeing the vision of like who he could be. Man, when it wasn't thinking and he was just playing, like holy smokes, is there some stuff there? I actually was thinking like there's no way that Ben Johnson isn't seeing the way that this guy can play the game and the players that he has around him and just licking his chops. Like the stuff that you could scheme up. If DJ Moore was your only receiver on this team, you would be able to do some really cool stuff. Like DJ Moore with the ball in his hands is completely underrated. And on top of that, my bold prediction for the year is I actually really do think the best player on the offense is Romo Dunze.
I
think he'll be wide receiver 1 by the end of the year. But like the places that you can go on this offense and like what I believe to be true about Caleb Williams and what I believe to be true about Ben Johnson, it's kind of hard to not say that like you really can't have a down year on offense this year. If you have a down year on offense this year, one of the really important like cogs of this offense is broken. Like you either don't have the quarterback you think you have, maybe you don't have the head coach that you think you have, or like maybe the offensive line, all the worst things possible could go wrong. But like we've seen teams with way less touted people at all of those positions calling plays, like talent around the quarterback like CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniels come to mind, where it's like, especially considering those were rookie seasons, like if the Bears' offense isn't good this year, something's probably broken.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is like unfortunate, but it's exciting because it really is optimistic. Like you said, like the Bears last year did a great job of assembling a roster, and I would agree, got the best head coaching prospect possible, and then had a good like a strong free agency and trading period and a strong draft.
Yep.
This is I mean, the draft was a situation where the roster for the first time and probably since me and you have been watching was good enough that you could take a tight end at 10 and go, well, it's fine.
Yeah.
2 years ago, if you took a tight end, when we drafted Darnell Wright, if you took a tight end, like
it would have been ridiculous. Yeah.
Now,
they were in a position where they did not have to reach for a need, and they didn't. So that's good, and that's a good place to be. And I hope they keep kind of staying in that slot where you can kind of just take the best player available. So, yeah, I agree. It's exciting. You know, it's hard to get too excited because we've had this conversation before. But not just like, you know, we've had this conversation before. I've had this conversation 20 times in my life. So but it is exciting. It's okay to be a little bit excited. I do think we have the right people in place. Just got to put it all together, and I think they can do it. So
I know.
All right, cool. We good?
Yep, I think so.
All right, cool. Thanks everyone.
Off-season, what do we say? Overall off-season grade?
I said A-. What do you got?
I'll go A-.
Pretty good.
The head coach was the most. It could end up being one of the most important moves in the history of Chicago Bears. Like 100%. That's how big it was.
Hope so.
All
right, cool. Thanks everyone. Bear down.
Bear down. All right, 12:15 here.